I'm David Boyd, 2024 President of Corpac International and Co-Managing Principal of Boyd Commercial in Houston, Texas. Welcome to our webinar on leveraging ChatGPT for commercial real estate. Before we kick things off, I'd like to personally invite you to attend the Corpac Fall Summit in Atlanta, which takes place September 18th through 21st. Our local host firms, King Industrial and Pollitt Commercial, have helped to plan an outstanding event. Visit the Corpac website to learn more and register. I would also like to thank Jennifer Norbit, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of Corpac, for arranging the program today. Now, please join me in welcoming our speaker, Barron, CCIM. Bo is the CEO and Managing Director of Barron Commercial Group, a third-generation brokerage in Owensboro, Kentucky. He's been a CCIM instructor since 2019 and is the host of the entertaining podcast, Commercially Speaking. Welcome, Bo. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. And I wanted to let me kick off by trying to share my screen, and yep, I think this will work. No, it's making me. Well, I should have done this before. It's asking me to quit and relaunch so I can share my screen. Which is embarrassing, but give me 30 seconds and I'll be right back, if not sooner.
I don't know if that helps.
Hey, everybody. Todd Monahan checking in.
Hello, Todd.
Hey, David. How are you? Hey, Jonathan.
Excellent.
All right. Sorry about that. Can everybody hear me?
We got you.
All right. That's much better. All right. Great. So let's jump in here, and I've got a few things to share. Actually, am I sharing my, do you see the title slide or my presenter notes?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, great.
Slide.
So what we're going to talk about here is how we can gain efficiency while transforming our CRE marketing and prospecting by using ChatGPT. And as a quick intro, would you all care to jump in the chat box real quick? I'd love to know where you're logging in from and how long you've been in the business, and then rate yourself on how familiar you are with ChatGPT on a scale of 1 to 5. This will help me kind of tailor what I share to the experience level in the group.
This is Corey Grant at Boyd Commercial, and played around with the ChatGPT Edge plugin and done some minimal generation with the language model, the free version.
Okay, great. All right, so we've got a bunch of 3s, some 1s, some 5s. We're all over the group here. We're all over the place here. Great.
You got a bunch of 25s too.
A bunch of 25s. All right.
Gray hairs.
I've got plenty of those myself. All right, great. Well, thanks for sharing that with me. That helps me. Ooh, somebody's logging in from Poland. How about that? Lucas, thanks for being here. All right. Well, let me share just a little bit about myself. David, thanks for the introduction. I am the CEO and the Managing Director of Barron Commercial Group, also the co-founder of an investment fund called Hearthstone Capital. That's my old man right there, who is the previous generation to me. I am a CCIM 102 instructor, as David mentioned. And we do this podcast called Commercially Speaking with my brother Timmy. He wanted some letters after his name, and so since I'm CCIM, he went with ADHD, which perfectly describes him. He is diagnosed with ADHD. But we put out a new episode every week. Love doing that podcast, and look, I'm an owner of a brokerage company, and I'm also an investor. So in a lot of ways, I've sat in your seat for a lot of years. Here's some of the properties that we own or have developed over time, and everything from retail to office to a little bit of industrial. This property right here is pretty cool. I've got a bourbon distillery who leases that from me. Although it's only their bottles and their shipping containers and all that stuff. There's not actually any bourbon in there, so it's not quite as cool as I'd like. But we've got some industrial stuff, and we own a self-storage portfolio. This is my wife. I only show you this because it proves that I'm a salesman. And then my 3 kids, this was at the Zach Bryan concert a couple of months ago in Birmingham, Alabama. Best thing about this concert is I got to drop them off, and my wife and I went and had dinner alone, and then we picked them up later on. And then I was an Arabic linguist in the Marine Corps in a previous life. That's actually me on the right when I was skinnier and younger, for sure. But I'm not an AI expert. I'm not. We've started to use it. We see the value in it. But when it comes to ChatGPT, we've been able to implement some functionality that's made us a lot more efficient and a lot more effective. And that's some of the stuff that I'm going to share with you here today. Some of you on this call probably know more than me. That's great. And I'd love to hear from you about some things that I could implement later on. So feel free to reach out, but I'm not the AI expert. But we have been using ChatGPT effectively. So hopefully I can share some things with you today that will be useful to you. What we need to pay attention to when it comes to AI is this is a tech advance that's going to rival the internet and mobile. This is a big deal, and it's changing everything. 42% of enterprise companies have actively deployed AI. That's going up every day. The AI market size is expected to reach $407 billion by 2027. That's a number I can't even fathom. And generative AI could raise global GDP by 7%, which is a mind-numbing idea. Let's see. It levels the playing field. And so something as a small boutique company in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, where my family's been here for 8 generations at this point in this small town. It levels the playing field. So we can more effectively compete with larger firms, with marketing departments and analysis departments and all that stuff, which we don't have. This is like adding another team member that can do these things. So neglect and ignore it at your own risk. You don't need to become an expert in this stuff. Most of you just need a smart person between you and the technology. So what I'm hoping to accomplish here today is to give you a feel for what's possible with ChatGPT. And then you can make the call on whether you need to get good at it or you need to have somebody on your team that's good at it that you can delegate these functions to. It is like a hammer. AI is a tool. It can be used for good or for ill. We're not going to spend any time on this call discussing the ethical ramifications of AI, but I do want you to think of this as a tool, and just like a brick that can be used to build something, it can also be used to hurt somebody. It's a tool, all right? There are 3 types of AI, and only one of them currently exists, and that's narrow AI. And let me move your smiling faces over a little bit so I can see all of this. It's designed for specific tasks and often surpasses human efficiency, but it's limited to its program function. That's what we're experiencing right now. That's what ChatGPT does for us. It does a specific function, and it's programmed to do so. Then there's general AI. This has the potential to apply previous learning to new tasks autonomously. All right. This, I think we're very close to getting to. at least based on what I read, but it doesn't actually exist yet. And then there's super AI. All right. This surpasses human understanding with capabilities such as reasoning, emotions, beliefs, desires. So think here Terminator and Skynet. This is where the Elon Musks of the world are concerned about, the machines taking over. That would be super AI. And again, it doesn't exist, at least not at this point. Generative AI is a type of narrow AI that uses algorithms that can create new content that includes text, audio, video, images, etc. So think Siri, Alexa, ChatGPT is this type of generative AI. IBM's Watson, these are all a sub-function of narrow AI that we call generative AI. And it's significant because its ability to drive efficiency gains, reduce costs, and offer innovative solutions. So think of it as your newest teammate in your company. Do not use ChatGPT outputs as is. All right. These are my cautions to you. Okay. Don't use it as is. There's all kinds of horror stories at this point from, anything from, uh, attorneys who have used ChatGPT to use briefs and submitted those briefs. And it turns out that ChatGPT just made stuff up and they went and used it because they didn't check the outputs. All right. So even if it's a letter or you're asking it to write you an email or something simple, all right, always go through it. All right. Think of ChatGPT as something that can get you 80% there very, very quickly. And then you can iterate on that last 20% to make it sound more like you, to correct anything that you need to correct, but don't use it as is. All right. Trust that GPT is correct. All right. Don't do that. It can make stuff up. It can use incorrect information. It's almost as if the algorithm is written to please you. All right. And so if it needs to make something up to please you, it'll do that. Right. So just be very careful with the outputs. All right. Don't trust that it's correct. And I would not give it personal information. All right. Everything you submit into ChatGPT can become part of its learning core that it'll continue to train itself on. And so, I do not use it to do lease abstracts. Right. I do have a custom GPT that I've had created for our company that allows us to do that. And when you create a custom GPT, you can submit whatever you want and it does not become a part of open. You can turn that function off so that it's not shared with the open AI universe. But just be very, very careful with using your personal information. All right. Now, with that in mind, let's jump over to ChatGPT, and I'm going to share with you guys a handful of things today. One is how to use ChatGPT to create your bio. I'm going to show you how to use it to analyze your own voice so that it remembers what you sound like in your writing style, so that in the future, when you ask it to write a letter or whatever else, it can use your own voice and style to do that. So it's already starting to sound like you. We're going to take a look at how to use it to write marketing copy, right? If you're like me, one of the things I hate to do is describe a property with words. When you're creating the marketing copy or the OM and you have to describe the property and the location description and all that, it's just, I don't know anybody who likes to do that. And so there's a really nice method that we can use to have ChatGPT do that for us. And it's much faster and it sounds a lot better than what I create myself. And then I'm going to show you how to use it to role play. Now, if you have any questions during any of this demonstration, I think Jennifer's kind of monitoring the chat and you can ask those questions and we can either stop and address those questions or there will be time at the end to go over any questions that we didn't get to. So please, let's make this as interactive as we can. I'd encourage you to ask questions. All right, let me switch. All right, now, first thing we're going to look at here is how to create our bios. This is another thing I just don't enjoy doing. I don't know anybody who does really enjoy creating your own bio. but there's a great method that I use just about every time I use ChatGPT, and it's an interview method. And so I'm going to highlight this opening prompt here and throw it in the chat box so that you guys can use this in the future. But here's what it says and what we're actually doing with this. I'm telling ChatGPT its role, who it is. You're an interviewer. Interview me one question at a time, like an interviewer would. Only ask me one question at a time and do not ask me another question until I respond to the prior question. Ask me questions about my business and professional accomplishments until you have enough information to write my bio as a Forbes profile, right? So I'm telling it what I want it to do, right? It's a interviewer, a journalist for Forbes. It's going to write my profile, and I want it to ask me questions. Now, I'm telling it to ask me one question at a time for the main reason that if you don't do this, it's going to give you a list of questions that you can respond to all at one time. That, to me, is a little bit overwhelming. I see all these questions, and it just makes me want to go do something else, right? But if it asks you one question at a time and it doesn't ask you the next one until you've responded, now it feels like a conversation. It's not nearly as overwhelming, and you're telling it about your favorite subject, the subject that you're absolutely an expert on, and that is you. So here's how this kind of goes. So you're an interviewer, I give it the prompt, and its response is, "Thank you for joining me today. Can you please start by telling me your full name and the name of your company?" Fine. William Griffin Barron II, but I go by Bo. My company's Barron Commercial Group. Nice to meet you. Can you briefly describe your primary focus and services offered by Barron Commercial Group? I tell it that. It's great to know more about BCG services. Can you tell me about your background and experience in commercial real estate prior to founding Barron Commercial Group? So my grandfather started the company in the 50s. My father took over the business as I was growing up, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just answering its questions. The nice thing about this is it's not going to create my bio until it's pulled from me all the information that I need. Thank you for sharing your background, Bo. How has your experience in the Marine Corps as an Arabic linguist influenced or contributed to your approach? Blah, blah, blah. I answer that question. That's fantastic, Bo. And notice how conversational that ChatGPT is. I mean, it actually responds to what you say. That's a fantastic approach, Bo. It makes you feel, even though I know this is an algorithm talking to me, it's kind of encouraging. How's Barron Commercial Group evolved since you took over? It just continues to ask me these questions. Now it's asking me, can you share with us one or two specific projects or deals that you're particularly proud of that demonstrate the capabilities of BCG? So I share that with them. Thank you for sharing these remarkable examples, Bo. It's clear that you have a talent, blah, blah, blah. It's just continuing to stroke my ego, which, if I'm being honest, I enjoy. What are your future plans or goals? I share that with it. Thanks for your insights, Bo, your ambitious plans, blah, 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 blah. Best of luck with your future endeavors. All right. Will you ask me about my podcast to include in the profile? Now, notice what I did here. I want to include some information that it didn't ask me about. So I'm going to tell it, hey, ask me about this as well. Of course, can you please tell me about your podcast, including its name, focus, and other notable achievements or guests you've had on the show? So I tell it that. That sounds unique, etc. And now I want it to ask me about how I got into commercial real estate. Absolutely, Bo. How did you initially become interested? And so I tell it that. Now I say, please create my bio based on this interview so far. And it does. So it creates this, but it has like these headers in it, which I don't see this when I read somebody's bio. All right. So whatever it gives to you initially, in this case with headers, it doesn't look like I want it to look. I'm starting to read through it. It seems a little wordy to me. It's too long, in my opinion. I was like, so I'm going to ask it to try again with some changes. We need to update this bio. I need you to ask me about my role as a senior instructor for the CCIM Institute, as well as the new company I recently co-founded, Hearthstone Capital. Ask me one question at a time until you have enough information to update my bio. So we go through this process again. It's asking me some more questions. All right. And then please recreate my bio based on the information that you have this far. So again, it gives me this thing with, headers. And now please redo this without the headers and limit it to 500 words. So I'm asking it to condense it and take those headers out. So now this looks like a bio that I expect to see. And it starts telling it all the information. It starts crafting a bio with all this information that it got by interviewing me. And then I go, all right, please create a 100-word version, a 60-word version, and a 15-word version of my bio. Now, I highly suggest that you do this. One is a 100-word version. Sometimes you're on a site or you're on a social media site, or LinkedIn can limit the amount of characters. And, you know, if you're on Twitter or Instagram or some of these other social media profiles, it's very limited on what you can share. And so just go ahead and ask ChatGPT, hey, give me these much more condensed, brief versions of my bio. And so it gives me the 100-word version, the 60-word version, and even this 15-word version. Bo Barron, CRE leader, owns BCG, co-founded Hearthstone Capital, and co-hosts the Commercially Speaking podcast. Now, I'd had to leave a lot out to give me that, but that's what we did. Now, later on, I came back and I said, look, here's my current bio, which is a version of what it gave me before. And I say, before you write the bio, please ask me questions. I'm asking it to get more information about this Hearthstone Capital. First, can you tell me more about what inspired you and your co-founder to create Hearthstone Capital and what sets it apart from other investment funds? I'm just iterating on this. Okay. So here's kind of the big picture on when it comes to bios. One, tell it it's a Forbes writer and have it interview you one question at a time. This is the easiest way I've ever found to create your bio. It's very conversational. It's not overwhelming. And then tell it what it's missing. Hey, ask me about this. And then once it gives you something, continue to iterate on it until you've whittled it down to what you really want, right? If you need it to be 300 words, tell it, hey, I need a version with 300 words. The first time I did this, I remember like half my bio had to do with my Marine Corps experience. Well, that's not that relevant these days. I've been in commercial real estate for over 20 years now. So one of the things I told it, hey, I want you to minimize what you share about my Marine Corps experience, and I want you to focus more on my commercial real estate experience. And so it rewrote it that way. So just continue to iterate on it. You read something, you're like, I don't know. Just tell it to try again and tweak this one thing. One time it wrote a whole paragraph on me about what I wanted for the future, which was one of the questions that it asked me, but it was way too revealing. Like this wasn't something I just wanted the world to know. So I was like, hey, look, take that paragraph out, focus more on this. So just continue to iterate on it until you have something that you really want. And so this is the version. Like please redo and reduce the paragraph about Hearthstone by half. Also remove the paragraph about Bo's vision for the future. All right. So then it gives me this version. And this is the one that I use these days. All right. So next time you have to write your bio, or maybe you need to update your bio, this is a great way to use ChatGPT to produce something that's quality and fast. And you don't have to become the writer to do that. Now, before I jump to the next thing, do we have any questions, Jennifer? No? Okay, great. Let's go to this concept of analyzing our voice. Before I do that, though, let me show you something up here. One thing I would suggest that you do is pay the $20 a month and get the paid version of ChatGPT. The free version, you can do this on the free version, but it's like having a really smart sixth grader write your bio for you. It's just not as effective. It's not as smart. Once you get the paid version, you've got some options. Like you can, wow, this has changed since the last time I looked at it. It used to still allow you to use Chat 3.5. The advantage of 3.5 was that it was super fast. I mean, and when you asked it to do something, it was generating the copy really, really fast. It was kind of like having a smart high schooler help you. So it was smarter than the free version, but it still lacked a little bit, but it was super fast. When ChatGPT 4 came out, they limited the amount of outputs that you could use. So a lot of times I would use Chat 3.5, do whatever I was going to do, and then I would take the outcome, throw it into ChatGPT 4 and not iterate as much because there was a cap, like every 3 hours or something, you had a limit on how much you could use it. They just came out maybe 2 months ago with 4.0. And this is, they claim best for complete tasks. This is the one I use on the regular. All right. It is like having a smart college student. It's very intelligent. It can handle things that the other versions couldn't. Like there's ways to do math now. There's, you can ask it to do Excel stuff. I really don't know how to do that. But there's some functionality here that I don't use that 4.0 allows you to do. But one of the really cool things about 4.0 is it has memory. With the previous versions, you'd go through, let's say 3 months ago, I went through and did my bio, and then I wanted to jump back in and ask it to iterate some more on it. It's like it would forget what we had done already, and you'd have to redo it. 4.0 has memory. And so when you tell it to analyze your voice, at the end you say, okay, I want you to remember that this is my voice, and it remembers, and it's really slick. So let me scroll down here and grab analyze my voice. So here's how you do this. All right. Based on, and here's your prompt, based on the following work example, analyze my voice and writing style. All right. And then I copied and pasted in to the, little bar down here, a blog post that I had written. And this blog post is probably almost 2 years old now, but it was an example of how I write and what I sound like when I speak. And so, and it was fairly long, but I just copied and pasted this. You can upload a PDF. So one thing you might do is if you're on a Zoom call and it's recorded, the Zoom will transcribe the call. And so you can grab that transcript and upload it as a PDF down here and just click the little attachment and you can upload, something from your computer. It can handle PDFs, Word docs, anything like that. So whether you wrote something or you got a transcript of you speaking, that's a great way to upload that in here and ask it, hey, analyze my voice. And so I did that. Now, at the end of that, I said, if you would like, nope. So ask it to analyze. And here's what it says. Based on the provided work example, here's an analysis of your voice and writing style. So it tells me on it, informative and analytical, structured and logical, engaging and personable, educational, use of examples, professional yet approachable, call to action, attention to detail. Again, it's making me feel really great about myself, right? It doesn't generally tell you, hey, you kind of suck at this. So it tends to stay on the positive side. It says, overall, your voice combines a professional analytical approach with an engaging educational tone, making complex economic concepts accessible and interesting to a broad audience. Okay. And then I tell it, I want you to remember that this is my voice. In future chats and conversations, this will be my voice and default style. Can you do that? And then you see this little thing right here, memory updated. And what that says here is the user's voice and default writing style is it remembers what. So got it. Your voice and writing style will be remembered for future conversations. If you need any assistance or have further questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. So one thing I would suggest you do is, if you haven't already, get the paid version, some of the best $20 you're going to spend in a month, and then upload something you've written or a transcript and have it analyze your voice. And then whatever you do in the future, let's say later on today, my plan is to allow or to ask ChatGPT to write a letter. I've had a group reach out to me. They want me to sponsor a race, and I'm going to decline. And so I'm going to say, hey, look, you're an expert copywriter. I want you to help me write a letter declining a sponsorship request using my voice. And when I tell it to use my voice, the output is going to be, informative and analytical, structured and logical, engaging and personable, education. I mean, it's going to sound more like me if I tell it to use my voice. So I highly suggest you go through, this took like 5 minutes. It takes longer to find out what you want to upload, and then just do it. Analyze my voice and then tell it to remember, and it'll remember. But it only remembers in ChatGPT 4.0. So be sure when you log in that you're not on one of these other ones. Okay. Make sure it's 4.0. All right. Any questions? Good deal. All right. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Bo, I have a question. You say analyze your voice, but the output is written, correct? It's not duplicating your voice.
Correct. So it's not, so if you ask an LLM, a large language model like this, to analyze your voice, what you're really saying is analyze my writing style or my speaking style, and it will allow it, regardless of what anybody actually sounds like. It's going to create copy in the future that sounds or reads more like you.
Thank you.
Yep. Good question. All right, let's jump over here to creating marketing copy for an OM. So here, again, I'm going to use the interview style. I remember the first time I ever heard of ChatGPT, my brother, who I do the podcast with, was telling me about it. So I logged on, and we started using it to describe a property. And I was like, okay, describe this property. And I entered in the address, and it's just started making stuff up. All right. I didn't tell it anything about the property. It just started making stuff up. It was a great description of some property, but it wasn't the right property. And so once I learned this interview method, that's how it learns all about the property that I want it to write about. And it just interviews me about it. So again, here's the prompt. You're an expert copywriter. Interview me about a piece of commercial real estate so that you can write the marketing copy for the offering memorandum. You will write in a professional style without flowery language. This property is the former headquarters of an industrial contractor. It is 2 parcels that make up that many acres. It's got an office building and warehouse space, et cetera, et cetera. It also has warehouse distribution building. Please ask your questions one at a time. Okay. Absolutely. Can you provide the specific address and some details of the property? So I do that. Thank you for providing the location details. Next, let's discuss the condition and features of the building. Can you describe the current condition? Blah, blah, blah. So I do that. Could you provide more information about the warehouse and distribution building? Specifically, I'm interested in current conditions, any specialized equipment, et cetera, suitability for various types of industrial or distribution uses. So I do that. Could you elaborate on the features and current condition of the truck maintenance building? So I do that. Can you provide more details about the site itself? So I do that. Based on your understanding and experience with the property, what types of businesses or industries do you see as the ideal buyers or tenants of this space? So I share that with it. Understood. That gives a clear idea of the potential market for the property. Lastly, let's discuss any recent upgrades. I basically didn't know what it was asking. Unknown, but assume all mechanical systems are in good condition. And then it says, thank you for all the detailed information. Here's a draft of the marketing copy. Now, it gives me the draft of the marketing copy. It's not going to be exactly what you want, all right? But it gets you 80% there really fast. So now you're going to start to iterate. So I see the property overview, it's giving me bullet points. And now I love bullet points. I love headers. It allows me to quickly scan through things. But you don't often see that in an OM when you're describing the property. So please do this again, and keep in mind your audience is likely blue-collar business owners. Don't use flowery language, but do be persuasive in a subtle way. Please take out the section headers and write in full sentences without bullet points. So now I'm telling it, all right, I want you to give this to me, but let's consider our audience, okay? And let's give it to me with full sentences. Like, I don't need all these bullet points. I'm going to be copying this and pasting it into our marketing materials. And so it does that. But man, that's too long. Great job. It's just too long. Please reduce by 40% and further highlight the property's features. So it does that. You can see it's significantly shorter. Now, I took this, which was probably about 90% there, and I continued to pare it down myself. And we use this in our marketing copy, and not because of ChatGPT, but this thing went under contract in about a week. So I was very, very pleased with the outcome. But this is a great way for ChatGPT to write really good copy for marketing materials that we generally don't like to do and aren't very good at. But it doesn't know about the property. So it's got to interview you to pull that information out of you so that you can use it in your marketing copy. Jennifer, did you have a question?
Well, there is a question in the chat feature about providing geo data from Google, and can ChatGPT then describe a property based on that data?
Huh. I have no idea. My guess is maybe not. I don't know how much property information that ChatGPT has based on geo coordinates. I just don't know, but it'd be interesting to try. In fact, if you want to throw some geo coordinates in the chat box, we could try it at the end if we've got a few minutes and just see what happens.
Well, are you able to share your initial prompt, even though it's related to that specific property, just so that we kind of get
Oh,
an
sure.
idea of how to alter that for ourselves?
Yeah, no problem. Let me
Thank you.
throw this in the chat box. Okay. Any other questions before we move on? I'm going to show you one other thing, and then we can kind of take this wherever we need to go for the last few minutes and have some questions.
There was another question about, do you prefer ChatGPT or Gemini, Google's AI?
I haven't used Gemini. I'm the kind of guy who finds his favorite meal at a restaurant and never orders anything else. And so I've gotten to the point where I know how to use ChatGPT a little bit, and I'm not going to burn the bandwidth personally to try out all these other ones. I just won't do it. That's not to say they're not better. I just don't know.
And lastly, at the end, if we have time as well, can we show the results of your letter? I believe the rejection letter about sponsoring the event.
Oh, like do it live?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
happens?
or share it
Yeah,
in some way.
sure.
There was a question about that. So again, if we have a few minutes at the end, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, let me do this. Let me stop sharing for just a second because I want to know well, David, Jonathan, Jennifer, here's what I'm looking for. I want a volunteer to help me role play a prospecting call with ChatGPT. So is there anybody in your group here that's particularly proficient with prospecting calls and finding and winning new business?
Yeah, Corey Grant at Boyd Commercial is excellent at that.
Okay. So Corey,
He was with us, maybe no longer.
But he's still showing up.
okay. Well, Corey, if, boss man just put you on the spot. So
No pressure.
if you don't mind turning your camera on and joining me. He may have stepped out for a second to take a very important prospecting call, which is probably what's happening right now.
Okay.
So does anybody want to volunteer?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. All right. David, you're up. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use ChatGPT to role play a prospecting call. All right. So just like when we interviewed, when I had it interviewed me, we had a conversation. All right. You can tell ChatGPT to be whoever you want it to be, and then you can role play with it. All right. The key is the prompt. The key for all of this is giving really good prompts. And so one of the things you always want to do is tell ChatGPT who it is and what the objective of this conversation is, right? You can tell it to be mean, nice, skeptical, whatever you want. You can, tell it to be a blue collar business owner. That tends to be my core prospect, is generally a blue collar business owner. That's who we do a lot of work with. But David, in your case, who's your ideal prospect? Tell me a little bit about they multifamily owner? Are they a corporate user of space? What, like, who is
And
this
then
for you?
an industrial landlord, a building owner
Okay.
that owns warehouse properties that has a vacancy and needs a listing agent.
Okay.
We
All right.
specialize in leasing warehouse space.
All right. Well, let me jump back into, where did it go? We're going to start a new session here. All right. So I'm going to say, we're going to role play a prospecting call for commercial real estate. You are going to play the role of an industrial property owner who has a vacancy. I am going to play the role of a CRE broker who is cold calling you in order to set up a meeting in the hopes of winning your business and helping you lease up your space. Now, I need somebody else to help me with this. All right. David cannot choose because he's going to be playing on the other side. So let's see. I only see a few of you, but is it Mervat? Is that? I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. Would you mind unmuting yourself for a second?
Yes, you got it. Mervet, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. All right. I want you to give me the tone of this landlord. All right.
I'm
Tell me.
annoyed that I'm getting a cold call.
Okay. Great. That's perfect. What else? Give me just a little bit more insight into this. Certainly annoyed. Yeah, David has just interrupted.
I get
his day.
calls
He's
all
very
the time from real estate agents, so I don't know who this David is, and I'm not
Okay.
impressed.
All right. Great. Perfect. She is not helping you out, David. One time I did this, and I told it to be like angry and mean, and chat basically put me in tears. It was brutal. So we'll see how this is. You are
I withdraw.
no. You're stuck with this at this point. You're annoyed at my call because I've interrupted you, and you get calls like this all the time.
Correct.
Let's begin. All right. Property owner, size. Hello, this is Mike. What do you need?
Mike, I noticed your building is vacant. I specialize in leasing warehouse space in your area. I'd like to come and talk to you about listing your property. Pretty straightforward, but sometimes that'll get a meeting.
I notice your property is vacant. And what'd you say after that?
I'd like to set an appointment to talk to you about listing the property.
So are you assuming it's not listed, David?
I drove by and it was vacant.
Okay.
Did you just lose your tenant?
There's no size. Oh, yeah. Good question. Let's reframe that to not be a yes or no question and say, what happened to your previous tenant? All right. Let's see how property owner reacts here. Look, I get calls like this all the time. My previous tenant's business went under and now I'm left with this empty space. I'm not interested in wasting my time on another pitch. David?
Okay. Can I come in and meet you face to face next Wednesday?
Can I reframe that? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Okay. How about many of my current clients shared that sentiment
Thank
the
you.
first time I called. How about I pop by and what was it you said? Meet face to
Meet you
face?
meet you face to face next week.
Groans. Look, I'm really busy. What makes you think you're any different from the dozen other brokers that have called me this month?
I've got a team of professionals that specialize in your area. We have a stable of listings and we're calling tenants every day.
I'm going to add a little empathy here, if that's okay. Not to put words in your mouth, but just to see how the property owner reacts here. All right, fine. I'll give you a chance. Next Wednesday at 2 p.m. works, but this better not be a waste of my time. What's your name again? Oh, that's funny. So chat has a little bit of a sense of humor. Now, thank you guys for playing along. Um, I appreciate it. Here's what I would suggest you do with role playing. Okay. Um, based on my 20 years experience, especially when I was working with the Massimo Group and we were coaching commercial real estate brokers, this is the #1 skill that can consistently fill up a pipeline and accomplish the one thing that is the most important for a commercial real estate broker, which is consistent deal flow. If you can achieve consistent deal flow, you can build a long and lucrative career. But what knocks most brokers out of the business is these huge gaps in income between deals. And the way you get around that is you pursue the business that you want. You get hyper focused on who your ideal client is. You find who those people are. You figure out how to speak their language, and you call and you call and you call and you call. And most brokers, not you guys, certainly, but our industry is full of people who won't do that work. They don't like the rejection. They don't like, I don't mind rejection personally. I hate feeling stupid. Like that's my big thing to overcome. I always want to have the right answer. I always want to know the right thing to say, and I don't. And so that's held me back at times in my career. So whatever it is for you, if you'll start paying attention to the pushback that you get when you're on calls or in meetings, or anytime you're like, you leave a meeting and you're like, man, that guy said this thing and it tripped me up. Well, jump into chat and role play that scenario a number of different times. And it allows you to think through your response. You don't have to respond right away like you do in a conversation or on a phone call. You can think through, you can try different things, and you can see how it reacts. You can tell it to be a nice old lady one day, and you could tell it to be a high-powered exec who's super busy, no time, super annoyed. You can tell it to be mean as a snake if you want, and try these different methods. And what it'll do is it'll make you sharper and give you confidence. And man, there's nothing more effective than making a prospecting call when you have confidence versus when you're timid or anxious or, God forbid, desperate. And if you have confidence, you can do it. And if you put the work in, you can do this. Now, the best thing to do, in my opinion, with role playing is to start out every Monday morning grab 2 people in your office and spend 20 minutes role-playing scenarios. You have one person play the prospect, you have one person play the broker, and you have a third person observing and giving feedback. And then you just rotate around, sharpen your axe a little bit on Monday morning, and then hit the phones all week long. Come back the next week, hey, this is what we ran into, and do that on the regular, okay? But we don't always have people that are willing to fall on their face and role play with us, because it gets ugly sometimes. And so this is a way you can do it on your own using ChatGPT to help you role play. So I love this kind of functionality for a large language model that can play the other role and allow us to sharpen our axe so that we can get better at doing the one thing that drives most of the income in our business, which is the ability to go find the business that you want and not being reliant upon the business that just happens to walk in the door, or every so often when you happen to get a phone call. If you just happen to, if you're a just so happens kind of broker, then when things are good, you do good. And when the market bottoms out, you go sell insurance because your business drives up. But if you have the ability to go pursue the business that you want, then you can gain market share and have success in any market, in any market cycle, at any time, because you have these skills. And this is a way ChatGPT can help you sharpen those skills. So I would highly encourage you to do that. And if you're like me and you hate to look stupid in front of people, like, I would much prefer to role play with ChatGPT than I would with somebody else in my office. Because frankly, my ego takes a hit when I do that, and I don't love that. But anywho, we've got about 6 minutes left for questions. I can stay on a little longer if we need to. But what do we have?
A couple of questions came into the chat, Bo, if you want to take a look there.
Okay.
Just lost my chat space here, but can
All right, so
go ahead? Yep.
Yeah, I've got it. So, all right, Lucas shared some coordinates, so maybe we'll play around with that in a minute. Lori asks, can AI help deliver marketing lists and identify leads? Not necessarily. Well, let me rephrase. You're asking about AI. There may be ways that AI applications can go scrape data. It certainly can do that. There's applications that you can use to, every time a new LinkedIn connection is made, it'll go scrape their data and add it to your CRM. And then if your CRM has the ability to be linked to something like a HubSpot or something like that, then you can automatically send an email that you've pre-written to introduce yourself and that kind of thing. So you can automate and systematize a lot of things like that. I don't know that ChatGPT, if you said, all right, who are the owners in Owensboro, Kentucky, who own industrial properties over 20,000 square feet, it's not going to know that information. Scott asks, have you reversed the cold call chat so GPT is the broker? You know, I haven't. And that's a really interesting, that would be interesting. And you could even tell ChatGPT to be, like, grab one of these sales book guys. So, like, pretend you're that, I even hate to say his name because I think he's maybe not totally legit, but, like, act like you're Grant Cardone and you're calling me, right? Or act like you're Jeb Blunt, or some of these guys that have written the sales books on, methods and stuff like that. That would be really interesting to see how they respond. So you can actually give the objections that you're getting and have chat use its vast knowledge to come up with good response. That's a great idea, actually. And I've never done that. That would be fun to see. Trent asks, what's the newest ChatGPT functionality that you want to dig into, master, but haven't had time yet? Great question. Probably its ability to create images. I know it can do it, and I've seen people demonstrate how to do it. I just haven't taken the time to actually do that. And if I get to the point where I get good at having it create images, I've got all these slide decks that I use when I teach CCIM courses that I think could be hugely upgraded with some creativity and some expertise with the imagery in those slides. And I think that'd be a great application of that, but I haven't spent the time to figure out how to do the imagery part of this yet. And it's not going to be very much longer where it's going to be able to create videos for you. And there already are some applications, some AI applications out there that, you know, you can upload a photo of your face and it'll create an avatar of you. And then you can tell it what to say and it'll record your voice and all kind of that deep fake type stuff. You can do that now. But I haven't spent the time. I'm more the guy that I want to understand what's possible. And then I want the expert person in between me and the technology so they can do all this stuff. All right. Lucas asks, I wish to use AI for abstracting lease agreements. Which version do I need to maintain confidentiality with whomever that provided the lease abstract to me? Okay, so here's the thing. You need to create a custom GPT. And let me just show you this real quick on where these live. Somebody, and it could be you, has to create for you a custom GPT. Now, here's my Barron Commercial Group custom GPT. I had a guy in Louisiana named Bryant Cheeley make this for me. And there's everything in this GPT, our company handbook. It's very, very Barron Commercial Group specific. It's got all the CCIM materials in it. So it's trained on commercial real estate. And there's a toggle. So now you can see up here, it's Barron Commercial Group and not GPT 4.0. So I can say perform a lease abstract. If I click on that, it's going to say, great, I need the document. And I would upload it here. And this is the information that it needs. If I upload a lease, it'll give me this stuff. Now, let's say you want a lease abstract in a very specific format, then you would give that template. You would upload that template to ChatGPT in your custom GPT and tell it, hey, in the future, anytime we do a lease abstract, I want you to give it to me based on this template. And then it'll give it to you that way. And you can continue to train it on how you want it to give you the outputs that you're asking for. But this particular custom GPT, the connection between it and OpenAI and all its vast knowledge base is severed. So what I put in here does not become part of, like, Jennifer, you're in Chicago, correct? So Jennifer can't get on ChatGPT, just the regular version, and say, hey, what's Jimmy John's lease look like in Owensboro, Kentucky? It wouldn't be in there. I don't know if that would work or not, but I'm concerned about what I share with the world. So this is a way to do that. I don't know how to create a custom GPT myself. I hired somebody to do this, but it's pretty slick. And it's like having, instead of just grabbing a college student and asking it to do stuff, now it's like grabbing a college student who's interned at my company for a year and knows what we want to do things, and it'll do it. It'll do it in that way. It's pretty slick. And I've only had this for a couple weeks, so I'm still kind of playing around with it. But yeah, great question. Okay, let's see. You're asking about cost on a custom GPT. This was a couple grand for me. But I don't know what the market is. I saw this guy do it for his company and I was like, ooh, I want me one of those. And he shot me a price and it was done. So,
hey, Bo, this is Scott Hensley.
yes.
Maybe talk through with us. What if Corfac created a custom GPT that obviously no firm, no individual upload anything that they were concerned about another firm knowing, but the reality of it is, I don't care if David Boyd knows the lease terms of some client of mine in Charlotte.
You guys could do it.
Use that against me. Is that, again, I'm catching you cold. Is that a good idea, a bad idea? Or are you familiar with any other organizations or, CBRE, Wakefield?
The kid who did this for me built it for Ladder and Bloom in Louisiana. They're a big NAI shop that I think just sold to a firm in New York City, but they've got multiple locations, multiple brokers, probably over 100 agents. And that custom GPT serves them. And so they all have access to it. They're all using it for all kinds of specific commercial real estate tasks. You can actually get this to do market analysis and pull BLS data and all this other crazy stuff. So it's pretty slick what it can do. But yeah, like if you guys decided, hey, we wanted to create a custom GPT for CoreFac, like I can at least put you in touch with this guy, or you could find somebody else to do it. But I think, well, who am I to tell you guys what to do? But that'd probably be a pretty good idea.
One more question on your custom. Have you literally, uploaded your entire database of leases and everything and been able to allow it to, extract anything? Or are you selective in what you've provided, or, basically your whole server? Do you just upload your whole server and say, hey, here's all my documents for the last 20 years?
No, I was selective at this point. But my thought is we'll continue to add to this over time. And so, like making sure I wanted all the CCIM stuff in there, because it's a knowledge base for what we do, right? So I don't have to teach it all that stuff. I can just upload the information. And since I'm a designee and it's private, I'm not sharing that with the world, which is good. With our handbook, we scraped our website, uploaded our mission and values, our core values, all that type of stuff. And so that frames the outputs that we get because it knows all of those things. And I'm just starting to get my arms around what else we can do with it. And my guess is I'll continue to train it on more company data as we move forward. But I don't have any hesitations to doing that. Like we've had it do some lease abstracting for us, but I haven't uploaded all our leases yet. I just haven't done it yet. It's not I'm not concerned about what it could do with that. So,
thank you.
Yep. Let's see. We got a couple more questions. Great question, by the way. With the custom GPT, are you saying you can upload your document templates and simply add different addresses, client info, and it spits out a new Word document with that info, and that it's secure on your own system only? Yeah, it's secure in the sense that it still lives in the cloud, and who's to say? I got a letter from Ticketmaster yesterday that my information was hacked. I fully expect that might happen here as well, but I don't spend a lot of time stressing about that for the main reason that I feel really good about my chances of, if somebody steals all my data, I still think I can beat them. And so I don't really worry about that a whole lot, but that could be question, but it spits out a Word document, so it works with other programs. It spits out the text, which you can copy and paste by clicking that little button right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you paste it in the Word. So it doesn't give you the Word document, right? Now, there's all kinds of plugins that you can use with ChatGPT. You can ask it to create a PowerPoint presentation for you, and it'll give you the file, all right? I haven't played around with that stuff a whole lot. But yeah, this will, you can have it read aloud. You can have it to regenerate. Hey, try this again. Give me version 2 just by clicking regenerate. Or you can say, hey, what you just gave me was trash. That helps train the model, right? But yeah, and I do want to grab those coordinates and see if chat can do anything with coordinates. So let's do a new one. Okay, So we're talking about the Palace of Culture and Science in Warsaw, Poland. This is a significant area in central Warsaw, hosting various businesses, cultural. Around these coordinates, you can find several notable establishments, including these places. So, Lucas, how right is it?
It's correct. I actually given the GPS coordinates of my office, which is almost directly in the city center of Warsaw, and those are the let's say the landmarks that are most known in the city center of Warsaw.
Huh, very cool. Are there any commercial real estate offices in this area? Uh-oh. It gave the wrong ones. But that is pretty interesting that it can search the web that way. So that's pretty cool. I've never tried anything like that before.
Thank you for the test.
Yeah, you're welcome. I will just leave you with one other thought. If you haven't tried perplexity.ai, and I'll put that URL in the chat box, Perplexity AI. That thing is giving Google super fits. What Google does, if you search for something, it gives you all the links. And then you click on the links and you find the information that you need. All right. And now what it's starting to do because of Perplexity is it's starting to aggregate the data and actually answer your question at the top. It'll give you sort of that thing. But that's exactly what Perplexity does. You ask Perplexity, if you were to ask Google, what's the manufacturing employment in Kentucky? It's going to give you links to the BLS site and all these other places, and you have to go find it. If you ask Perplexity, it's going to tell you how many, and then it's going to give you the links that it found the data. And whew, that is a level up. Talk about saving some time. In Perplexity, you could actually say, hey, what are the employment trends in, Houston, Texas? And what kind of demand for office space can we forecast over the next 5 years? It'll give you a pretty great answer. And then it has all the links where you can go and decide, hey, is this good information or not? But it gives you, and that thing can actually do some analysis for you. So that's a pretty cool tool. And it's really easy to deal with. If you haven't played around with that one, I would highly suggest you check that out. But yeah, if we don't have any other questions, I'll let you guys get back to your day.
Bo, thank you very much. That was excellent.
Good. You're welcome. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so very much.
Great to meet you.
All right. Y'all have a great day.